Hey, thanks for checking out the Olano Inquirer YouTube channel. If you can do us a favor, continue your support. Give us a follow here on YouTube. Hit the notifications button, hit the subscribe button. That really helps us out. We're hoping to give you more content on our video channel here, whether it's player interviews, reactions, our daily dish series where we're going to be more topical and talk about the Illini. So give us some support. We appreciate all of it. Give us a follow, hit the notifications bell as well, and subscribe to us here on Illini Inquirer YouTube. Welcome into the Daily Dish. Jeremy Werner, Joey Wagner, and Illinois football gets two commitments right away after their second big official visit weekend. Let's talk about him, Joey. Kicker David Olano out of Naperville North, and you also get a Florida DB, Jaheim Clarke, who's going to play cornerback most likely for Illinois, but has some safety skill. He's been playing safety in high school as well. Let's start with the in-state kicker, Joey. I feel like that's the headliner here, as Chris Saylor has him the number one kicker in the country. And then you have Cole's Kicking has him as the number 21. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. I don't know, but he's a very talented kicker that we saw with our own eyes. I guess the news here is Illinois is using a scholarship on a kicker in this class. I think, Joey, that says a lot about what they think of David Olano, but are you shocked that they're using a scholarship on a kicker?
I'm not, because it felt like it needed to go this way. Like there felt like a sense that he wanted to be at Illinois, but I think to do that without a scholarship, you've got to turn down a scholarship elsewhere. And that it sounds easy, right? It sounds easy when you're not facing that reality, but it felt like they needed to go that route, and they did. The timing, maybe. I mean, I know we've talked about it a lot, Jeremy, that is this something that comes together later on in the class? Just they got on it quickly. They moved ahead with it quickly. And I think we'd have to be honest and say the 25 scholarship limit that is no longer in place probably played a factor in the decision to do this. And what happened was they ended up getting a really good kicker. We saw him go 7 of 8 on the field of Memorial Stadium on Thursday. He was booting them from 50, Jeremy. He had touchbacks. There's some ball boys back there during the kickoff drills. And he stepped up, and everyone said, back up, back up, back up, back up, because no one else was getting it to the area that he was getting it to. If a scholarship needed to happen for this to come together, I just didn't know that we would be talking about it on June 19th.
Yeah, I mean, scholarships on kickers are pretty rare. That's why even a guy like David Olano, who's one of the better kicking prospects in the country, not all the top 20 guys, even a kicker, are getting scholarships. Usually you got a preferred walk-on to earn a scholarship. But to be honest with you, Joey, I like this because I think kicker's a huge need. I've written my needs things, and I've really wanted to put specialists higher, but James McCourt's gone. Blake Hayes at punter is gone. And I think this year there's a lot of unknowns. You hope Caleb Griffin, in his best opportunity yet, takes that job, but doesn't sound like it was a great spring. He wasn't great in the spring game when they had those drills. You get Will McManus, Fabrizio Pintone coming in. Hugh Robertson's a great story, a 28-year-old Australian, but do we know if he's a good Big Ten punter yet? No, we don't. So when you have an in-state kid like this who's performed well for you, that's starting to get other interest, Notre Dame gave him a preferred walk-on. I think it was time to do this, and I think he's really good. You and I saw him. He's got great leg strength, great accuracy, beyond 50 yards, and he's a really good story too. His parents are from Columbia, soccer family. He's only been kicking for 15 months, and he's already one of the best prospects in the country. So I think a kicker, if you're sold on him, and that's the key, you've got to be sold on he's going to be an impact player. I think he's worth a scholarship, but usually they usually wait till the end, but I agree with you. I think some of those, scholarship changes are part of the reason, but I also think they just love the kid. They love the kid. And Greg Froelich, who's a special teams analyst, deserves a little bit of credit for this one or a lot of credit, because he was the kind of the lead guy going for David Olano. And no matter what the position, it's great to keep great talent in state. And that furthers it here with David Olano. How about the defensive back, Jaheim Clarke? We thought they'd get some Florida DBs. They get one this weekend. They had several others on campus as well. Jaheim Clarke, they had to start addressing the defensive backfield. It's kind of one of the biggest needs that they had not addressed yet, Joey. So here's Aaron Henry going back into his home state of Florida and adding another one.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the end of this thing, we're going to see almost every defensive back is going to be from Florida, save for the big one they hope they can land from the state of Illinois. But yeah, I'll say though, Jeremy, I don't know that it felt like they appeared rushed or pressured. I mean, it felt like they kind of had this under control all the way in terms of their plan for defensive backs. They strategically set up this third weekend here in June for defensive backs, and they get one. And we don't know what that's going to look like, if there's going to be multiple out of it. But it just feels like we've talked about a very easy sell for these guys, given their personalities, given the success that they had last season. It felt like I said last week, Jeremy, they needed to close him down because he felt very close downable, and they went in and did it. And there's still going to be additions to the defensive backfield. I don't think anybody should think there isn't going to be. Obviously, we saw Jaheim on Thursday, I believe it was, and he's one. So they would like to add, he's not from Florida, but they want him. But yeah, that was going to come along. I didn't feel like the same way I felt with the defensive line before that first weekend, where it's like, oh my goodness, targets are flying off. Just kind of felt in control all the way, and it still does to me.
Yeah, Clarke felt like one for a long time. Illinois could close on, and they do. And that's necessary. This feels like a Pat Farrell kind of get. And you got to get those guys. You got to get a foundation in your class. You got to start addressing the defensive backfield. To me, I know we use this for skinny guys who are athletic and good ball hawks, but he's got some Kirby Joseph to him. But I was told they're looking at him at corner. So I think it might take some time to develop the strength necessary, maybe some of the physicality, but he does have great ball hawking skills, great athlete. And I think one of their things they want to do in this class is add a lot of length in the secondary. And Jaheim Clarke certainly does that. I think they could take up to 3 more defensive backs in this class. Maybe it's only 2. Jair Hill, you mentioned it, the top target there. Sabor Kareem out of New Jersey. He's visiting Duke this weekend. He's very long, really good cornerback, 6'3". Zachary Toby was on campus this weekend, 6'1", safety. North Carolina is going to get a visit from him later this month. So yeah, defensive back is a big one. Kenari Wilcher, a cornerback who ran a 4.3 40 at a Miami camp. Maybe a little bit more raw than some of these other guys, but he's 6'1", 180 with that kind of speed. Certainly can work with that at cornerback. So they had to address that need at some point. The other guys who visited this weekend, Chris Tarek, offensive lineman out of Glenbard West, Joey. You're competing with probably Wisconsin and Iowa at the top of that recruitment. Illinois shot. Let's see if they can add another offensive lineman in this class. Fama Toure is going to visit Rutgers. That's your competition there. A wide receiver, 6'3", athletic and physical. I think the other 2 I'm really looking at over the next week are Calvin Smith, the edge rusher out of Florida, that visited Illinois this past weekend. Pitt and Rutgers are his other targets. And then Mason Moragan is a guy that seems poised to break out, but he hasn't added those offers, even though he's camped some other places. He was scheduled to camp at Purdue and Michigan this week, camped at Auburn, was the defensive line MVP at that camp, camped at Cincinnati, but didn't get offers. So I think Illinois is in a great spot to add another really good defensive lineman. There's only Power 5 offer, but he seems like he should have more than that. I think Moragan and Smith are 2 of the ones I'm looking at. I think Wilcher, who's got Indiana, is interesting to see if Illinois can add him. But Moragan and Smith feel like 2 visitors. I'm really interested to see where it goes over the next week or so.
Yeah, Guru Moragan feels like he's just right on the edge of blowing up a little bit. And I don't mean like we've seen like a Jamarion Harkless blew up. I just mean start to see kind of an influx of Power 5 offers. It's a little strange that he hasn't yet, but getting him on campus, putting a good foot forward with him, that helps because you still do. You got the big one in Harkless. That's a great win, but you can't just get one. You've got to keep adding to that. We know Ian Jeffries is scheduled for a visit for next weekend, but Moragan is on campus. He's a guy they like. You probably want to do your best to close that down, and don't give him the opportunity. Joey Okla, that thing. Don't give him the opportunity to kind of blow up like that. Get the guy that you want to get there. So I'm with you. And Calvin Smith, Jeremy, is kind of a late. I guess we found out late. I don't know how late of an addition he was, but that was a late addition, an edge rusher. So obviously there's still room in the class for one more edge rusher. I don't know that we how far you and I projected out after they got Pat Farrell, but that's another interesting target out there. He does another Power 5 recruiting battle they're going to be in. So those are the two interesting ones, and we'll see. Now you've got to wonder what's next week look like. Is there going to be any surprise ones and what we already knew about? But that was, Moragan's a big one, Jeremy.
My hot take to end this, Joey. Brett Bielema told you 12 to 15 commits last month. I'm going to take the over on 15. I think they have more than that in this prep class, given where they're standing with some of their targets. Now, maybe it's only 5 if you don't get some of those prime targets. We saw Deacon Tanielli come off the board to Michigan. You were hoping to add him. If you don't get Malik Elzy, maybe you save that one for a transfer who can make a big impact. But I think with the way they're standing with a lot of these prep targets, I'm going to say they're going to go over that a little bit. And we're going to cover it all at Illini and Clarke because there's so much with Illinois football recruiting going on in the month of June. So check it all out at IlliniandQuire.com.